A very good evening all. I'm Aditi Lamba with the Tuesday night edition of South Asian News. Welcome to Vision of Asia, the voice of our community. We are coming to you from our studio in New York City. Here's what's happening tonight in the coronavirus pandemic. 14.8 million cases of global COVID-19 cases with at least 612,000 deaths. In the United States, cases are surging and we are looking at nearly 4 million cases of the novel virus and more than 143,000 deaths. More than half of all U.S. states have now paused reopening plans or are taking steps to halt the spread of COVID-19. States California, Florida, and Texas continue to be the latest coronavirus hotspots, with California looking to surpass New York, which was once the epicenter, as the state reaches the most number of cases in the nation, reporting more than 400,000 cases. In Florida, there are at least 27 counties with hospital capacity at 0%, meaning there is no ICU bed left there. In Texas, refrigerated trucks have been brought in to hold bodies of COVID-19 victims as hospitals run out of space. Here in New York and other parts of tri-states, travelers arriving from a total of 31 U.S. states are now required to quarantine upon arrival in New York and others. Nearly 40 U.S. states now have a mask mandate or a requirement to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Also, top officials are saying that record-breaking numbers of people are testing positive for coronavirus across the nation, and the surge is slowing the time it takes to get the results. And looking at COVID-19 and the importance of vaccine, today leading companies Moderna Inc. and Merck and Company told a U.S. congressional panel that they expect to not limit price of coronavirus vaccines to company cost. Executives from Johnson & Johnson testified that they will price their respective potential vaccine at no profit while the pandemic rages. If you are in a state with surging cases, please do take care of yourself and follow guidelines of the CDC. Practice social distancing. Please wear your mask and wash your hands. We must do our part in containing this virus. If you are a South Asian American on the front line or an essential worker, please reach us with your story, your experience on events at itvgold.com. Lots tonight on the impact of the economic and health ramifications as the nation grapples with COVID-19, along with highlights from COVID-19 relief activities and an exclusive featuring renowned Indian singer and composer Mr. Leslie Lewis. Here are the headlines. ITV Gold exclusive, Indian singer and music composer Leslie Lewis on Music and Passion, India. Political commentator Rohit Vyas addresses U.S. economy in coronavirus pandemic, New Jersey. Child Rights and You organizes Bike for Cry fundraiser helping underprivileged children, New York City. It's time for a short break. Stay with us on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Aditi Lama and this is Vision of Asia, the Tuesday night episode. Starting the show tonight, we are looking at the coronavirus pandemic impact and measures on the U.S. economy and its impact on small businesses, especially in the South Asian community. Earlier today, we spoke with veteran journalist and political commentator Mr. Rohit Vyas addressing the economic and health ramifications of COVID-19 and the role of the government. Currently, House Democrats and Republicans are debating on the much-anticipated coronavirus relief bill in time to avoid disrupting a key financial lifeline. This is happening while the $600 federal unemployment insurance benefit is expiring end of July, a benefit helping millions of Americans survive this economic impact of COVID-19, joblessness, and the U.S. lawmakers and White House officials have less than 2 weeks to agree on a legislative package. Today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that she hopes that both parties can resolve differences and have a bill by the end of next week. Bringing much perspective on this, Mr. Rohit Vyas also reflected upon the major changes in the market while addressing the impact on many small businesses owned by South Asian Americans. Here is Rohit Vyas. Since we have you as the political commentator and as a veteran journalist here, there is so much that is happening in the economy and people have so many questions. So just starting this interview off, what do you have to say about the economy right now in terms of where it's at? Is it better than the last time we spoke? And also, what do people need to learn right now in terms of what's happening in the fluctuating markets?
Yeah. Okay, you used the word market. That's exactly where we can start. Since the last time we spoke on ITV Gold, the markets have been doing pretty well. which is what President Trump kept predicting and saying they would do well. But that's no indication of the larger economic malaise, as it were. The stock markets are betting on the future. They're betting on a vaccine showing up. And we had a couple of pieces of good news as this interview is taking place on this day. There have been a couple of developments, namely with Oxford University and AstraZeneca and a Chinese company called something, Sino or something. And these two companies are in the midst of, are now heading into the third phase of vaccine development. So the stock markets are reacting to one day when there's word that a vaccine may be potentially around the corner, and then again to potentially a vaccine all of a sudden may not be around the corner. So that's what's happening. The stock market is doing its normal gyrations and doing seemingly pretty well since the last time we spoke and since the complete lockdown was instituted, when the stock market went down to as much as about 15,000 points and even below that threshold. The economy is making a slow comeback with the gradual reopenings in various states, but as you know as well as I do, with the cases of coronavirus, COVID-19, surging all of a sudden in so many states. I think at last count about 31 states in the United States now. The virus is surging again. It's definitely going to have a negative impact on the economy. So I don't think we're going to be out of the woods till at least sometime next year. I'd hazard to guess sometime late next year, not early next year, not in the second quarter, not even the third quarter, but by the fourth quarter of next year, there might be some real economic baseline good news. Right now, what we're seeing is very illusory. So I think the government is going to have to, first of all, put into place much more in terms of COVID relief for the general U.S. population. Right. The businesses are not going to be able to come out as quickly as everybody hopes they will. I hope they will be able to. I don't see that happening because don't forget some of the biggest, the generators of the economy are the small businesses. And let's take the example of restaurants, hotels. Right. The small guys that seem to be the ones that generate and run the motors, the engines of the U.S. economy, they're by no means in any good shape right now. So it's going to need a lot of government effort to put us back to where we were pre-pandemic. And I don't think that's going to happen till the end of next year. I don't mean to sound pessimistic. I hope everybody proves me entirely wrong. I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible.
Yes, you mentioned government efforts as well as, an alliance of everybody coming together in order to really help this economy. I'm looking here at 13.3 million jobs lost in the United States total so far. We're talking about a next stimulus package. What do you think is going to happen with this massive number of job loss that we're seeing in the country? And do you think they'll be able to recover any aspect of it in any near future?
Well, actually, there's a 13.5% to 15% average job loss, unprecedented, unheard of since the Great Depression. Okay, this is going back into the 1920s and the early 30s in that era when we had the Great Depression, the original Depression, not the one in 2008, which was a second depression, but the Great Depression, which happened then. So the unemployment numbers are still at unprecedented levels. We've had some comeback in the past month and a half, 2 months, and that's because of the gradual reopenings. Many of the businesses that were shut began to rehire workers, but now those are going to be reshut again because of the surge in the virus, and a lot of the governors and mayors and local government having to rethink the reopening and going back to phase one and even before that to a complete lockdown. For instance, Los Angeles is going to be the biggest U.S. city, I believe, that is seriously going to be once again implementing a complete lockdown, which means nobody goes out anywhere. Contain the virus at home if you have it. Stay at home. If you're too sick, well, then you go to the hospital and you go straight into a COVID-19 ward. And that could be either good or bad. And, you get onto a ventilator and things like that. And we know from what we've been hearing over the past few months, a lot of people who get to that stage don't recover again, and it's goodbye. This is a real serious problem. The unemployment rate, I do not think is going to come down anytime soon, not this year, maybe slightly. But again, there are a lot of jobs that are being lost at the same time. So we hear these numbers of say, wow, the economy gained, let's say, 500,000 jobs last month. And that's fantastic. But then it's lost 1.2 million. All of a sudden, you got 1.2 million people who file first-time unemployment claims. Don't forget also, there are a lot of people who don't like to file unemployment claims, and they're sitting on the sidelines. Now they're forced to because they're running out of their savings, and they're filing unemployment claims. So I think the government is going to have to really step up. They cannot loosen up the efforts. As you and I are doing this interview, the Congress is back in session trying to hammer out a deal, such as that $600 federal unemployment assistance, in addition to the unemployment that the states give out. They're trying to work on a deal on that. I think it's necessary. Two former federal bank chiefs have said it's absolutely necessary to continue that, or we head into economic catastrophe.
Let's now take a look at nonprofit Child Rights and You, Cry America, and its ongoing efforts for COVID-19 relief, helping the most vulnerable communities. Cry America has impacted the lives of more than 700,000 children living across slums and villages in India and the United States. Cry America believes in a vision of providing children the equal opportunities and access to improve quality of life in the underprivileged communities. Currently, Cry America is working to provide vital emergency relief such as dry rations and hygiene kits needed to survive this pandemic, while also organizing a range of fundraising events both virtually and in person to continue advocating for the voices of the most vulnerable children. Such an event to raise awareness and funds was held at Central Park in New York City recently, titled Bike for Cry. Bike for Cry was a national event to promote a brighter future of underprivileged children in a COVID world. Here is the New York City Bike for Cry event with key members and volunteers urging all to help these children in need.
I'm Patrick Baco. I'm the Director of Fundraising with Cry America. CRY stands for Child Rights and You, and we've been in India for 40 years and here in the United States for 17 years. I'm the Director of Fundraising, and we need to raise money to support our more than 20 projects in India making a difference in the lives of children. This is our second National Bike for Cry event. We're here in beautiful Central Park, New York City. We also have Bike for Cry events in New Jersey today, Boston, Houston, San Diego, Orange County, California, and Seattle, Washington. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for all the riders for participating today, our sponsors, our donors, and please visit our website, america.cry.org, where you can make a contribution so we can continue to help children in need.
So today's event, of course, is we're at the iconic Central Park in New York City, and this is our second Bike for Cry event by both New York City and New Jersey group. It's one thing that we're promoting awareness about children's rights and you, and I highly encourage you guys to go on the website, look at the different projects that we're working on, and of course volunteer. Reach out to either through Instagram or our Facebook. There's people who definitely will welcome you and tell you the great work we're doing. Of course, due to COVID, our events have been slashed into half, so we definitely need your help in donation. If not, reach out to help us spread this awareness for what CRY is. And of course, CRY is all about making sure every child gets the basic need that at the end of the day I didn't have to ask for, and I'm privileged enough to be in New York City in front of Central Park. So I hope one day we can support those kids in India and of course in America that think that water, shelter, child marriage and all those things they need help with. We should be the one that we feel privileged to be here and helping them out at the end of the day. And thanks to Patrick for this great idea during COVID and maintaining this 6 feet distance and all the protocols that we need to maintain and spread the awareness. So please spread the news and tell people to support CRY at the end of the day. Thank you and have a nice day. And to New York City.
Hi everybody, my name is Ekta Verma. This is my first time to come and support CRY. I'm very excited to learn about all the great things they're doing to protect children's rights in India. I really encourage you all to help and support us to raise more funds so that we can provide them to children in India who really need our help. If not, you can still come and support our marketing events. You can spread a word around. You can spread awareness around in the world for helping children in India and America. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah here in New York supporting Cry for America. We're here on this amazing day biking in Central Park, and I'm super excited to be part of this organization to provide kids food and new opportunities to be able to go on and live their best lives. We'd love to get any kind of support from you guys, whether it be following our social media profiles, donating, or also organizing bike rides and fundraisers like this. So please get involved, and thanks so much.
cryamerica.org हमारे व्यूअर्स आके हमारी क्राई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में अवेयरनेस स्प्रेड कर सकते हैं और लोगों को बता सकते हैं जो भी हम काम कर रहे हैं चिल्ड्रन राइट प्रोटेक्शन के लिए सो दैट वी गेट मोर सपोर्ट और लोग आए हमारा समर्थन करें और हमारे और फंड्स हम ताकि रेज कर सके सो दैट वी कैन हेल्प चिल्ड्रन इन इंडिया
और ये हर जगह है पूरे यूएस में ह्यूस्टन सियाटल Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, even Dallas, California, all the places. So you can search us on Facebook, Cry America Facebook page है और Cry New York City का Instagram है और दूसरी Cry Instagram has its own.
It's time for the short break. Stay with us on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be right back. And welcome back. This is Vision of Asia, the South Asian news segment, and I am Aditi Lamba. Looking at South Asian artists, we have now a segment of our exclusive interview featuring renowned Indian singer and music composer Mr. Leslie Lewis. Known as the pioneer of indie pop genre of music, Mr. Leslie Lewis has also been admired for his musical duo Colonial Cousins with singer Hari Aran, along with Coke Studio and MTV India. His many accolades also include jingles, Bollywood music, and rock and pop music, bringing forth a stage which celebrates an infusion of various forms of music. Mr. Leslie Lewis spoke wholeheartedly on his passion and commitment to music and his projects during this pandemic. Mr. Leslie Lewis has recently composed a new song, Ek India, featuring top Indian singers collaborating on the theme of coronavirus and uniting the nation as Ek India. Here is a segment of our conversation with Leslie Lewis. India is obviously, suffering from COVID-19 ramifications just like the United States is. There's a lot that's happening in the nation. I know artists are coming together to raise awareness, to do a lot of work for COVID relief. So how has your experience been with COVID-19 relief work? And how have you been during this pandemic?
Well, I have been living just alone by myself, so I've had to do everything from cook to clean to swab the floor to wash vessels to do interviews to perform live. It's quite a thing. But I ended up doing a song. I'm the mascot for IIMUN, which is Indian International Movement to Unite Nations.
Yeah.
And I've been their mascot for 10 years, and they're just 17-year-old kids. There are no adults there.
Oh, wow.
And I've been their mascot for 10 years. So their founder, Rishabh Shah, he called me up and he said, sir, can we compose a song for the COVID thing on behalf of the kids? So the song is called Ek India. It's on the IIMUN web page. And it features all the singers, Shan, Shreya Ghoshal, Benny Dayal, Bhumi Trivedi, Shilpa Rao, Bappi Lahiri, and also a new singer called Kavya Jones. So it's that one song from the kids who are 17-year-olds saying, "Hum sab milke banayenge ek India." So I guess they are the guys who are going to make India because they're going to be around a lot longer than you and me.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think it's so amazing that you are doing projects while we are in a lockdown, and it's so inspiring to see the artist, never stops working, and that creative energy always stays. Talking about creativity, I want to take now time to discuss this amazing journey you have had in the industry, in the entire music industry, and just have the audience get to know your own experiences. Sir, you come from, you were born and raised in the industry primarily. Your parents were also creative artists itself. If I was to ask you, what's your earliest memory of music in which you truly connected to, what would you say back in your childhood?
I think because my dad was always crazy about electronics, though he played tabla and he's been a choreographer in Bollywood. So Sholay, Sargam, Dawn, Khe Pan Banaras, all the old songs, Yahoo, Chahe Koi Mujhe Jangli Ka, Evening in Paris. So he's done it all, Intakam, Intaham. So I've been hearing Bollywood music at home as a kid, but because he was crazy about electronics, he had an electric guitar besides the tabla. So things like that just I think got me more excited on that side rather than the more classical zone.
Right.
And sooner or later I started going with him for recordings or going to R.D. Burman's house when they were composing or Kalyanji Anandji or Lakshmikant, and sitting around as a kid and being asked not to disturb them, chalo tum chup baitho, come on, shh, don't disturb us, we're working. But that's how Viju Shah and me, Kalyanji Anandji, Kalyanji Bhai's son, Viju Shah was also music director. We were both the kids of the parents hanging around while they were working, and we were told not to disturb them and sit quietly. So that's how we got, we were just like the flies on the wall.
Wow. And we're talking about this fusion of music, and that's exactly what your entire music journey has been, is to infuse different kinds of music all together. When you were the king of indie pop, and you still are, and when you created that genre, what sort of went behind that thought process? Because this is the real indie pop genre, not what happened a little bit after that, which became the Hindi pop genre. But the real indie pop genre, why was it so important to sort of introduce that into the mainstream music?
I think, because I loved Jimi Hendrix, or I loved, Simon and Garfunkel, or whatever that might be, which was American music and which was African music and British music.
Wow.
India, all my friends, very few friends really loved what I did because we all spoke English. But the ones who spoke Hindi, they would prefer to listen to Kishore Kumar or Mohammed Rafi or whatever. And that's nothing wrong with that, but that's how it turned out. And I realized that a lot of people in India wouldn't connect with the music primarily because it was in English. So that's how indie pop came about, where I could bring some of the Western pop music, the what do you call it, bubblegum, candy kind of music, which sounds beautiful to your ear, but it started coming in Hindi, and I think that's when the indie pop thing kind of started. So even for me now, I'm just started on a new musical journey. I've just turned what in India we call senior citizen, so I've just turned 60, and it's great because my new journey, if you notice in my past, I have always done music for other artists. I've always created other artists and their music. Except for Colonial Cousins, where it's Hariharan and me. But there's still a Hariharan and me, and there are two of us.
Right.
But I've never done anything for Leslie Lewis, per se, the artist. And I think that's going to happen soon. And you're going to hear a lot of music, which, like I said, I love Jimi Hendrix, I love the Beatles, I love all that stuff. Right. I want to bring it to you in Hindi, but in my way. So I call this new music Global Hindi. So the music is global, it's in Hindi, but it's not Indian.
Hello everybody, kahan ho tum? Aankhon mein andhera, har jagah gumsum. Tum daro na corona se, saath milkar aage badhe.
Hello everybody,
आँखों में अंधेरा, हर जगह गुमसुम, तुम डरो ना कोरोना से, साथ मिलकर हम आगे बढ़े.
And this wraps up our show for the night. Remember to send us your suggestions and get your voices and organizations on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook @itvgold. You can also now subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch many of our popular shows for free. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia. I am Aditi Lamba. Take care and please be well.